Greetings, I am Herbert Erpaderp, and it's time for another Ask a Herbert Erpaderp, the video series in which questions are asked of the Herbert Erpaderp, and me being the Herbert Erpaderp then provides answers of varying levels of quality. The first question comes from Red Phoenix, who says, if you could drive any World War II vehicle to work, which would you pick? I guess a wheeled vehicle would really be the proper choice to make, but I want a tank. I can't think of any that would be especially practical. I mean, traffic wouldn't be an issue because it's a tank, but I would want something that could go reasonably quickly, so maybe a Cromwell or a Hellcat or something. I would also want something comfortable. I doubt any tanks really fit that description, but an uncomfortable ride to work each day seems kind of miserable. I guess a Cromwell would be my choice anyway. It's relatively fast, and while you do miss out on the good view from an open top like on a Hellcat, rain and excessive sun wouldn't be an issue, so the Cromwell seems to be the most practical. Good for crushing cars too. Red Phoenix again said, have you ever built a non-military model? I have. Most of what I build are military models, but I have done a couple of locomotives and a car, which while I did stick guns on it to make the Battle Beetle, I wouldn't consider that a military model. I'm sure there are some other things too, like houses, I guess? I've built houses. Sure, they are for wargaming, but they're not really military structures. I have actually talked about it on stream a few times, but I've tried to find some farming models when I was playing a lot of Farming Simulator, but they seemed really hard to find. Most of what I could locate was die-cast stuff, and that's not really the same thing. I guess military models are probably the most common type of model you're going to find. Not that I'm complaining, it is an interest. Head of Secret Science Boys said, what's in the box? Which box? It could be anything. I have no idea. I do hope it's snacks though. I could do with a snack. Trekan Belovich said, which YouTube channel do you watch the most? I'm not entirely sure. Lately it's probably Business Blaze or Internet Today or something like that. I've not actually been watching a lot of YouTube in the last little while. I find myself watching more streams on Twitch than YouTube videos, especially when I'm working on stuff that doesn't require a quiet background. I like the interactivity, even though it is a bit more of a distraction. Commissar Tuppy said, if you could put a flak 8.8cm in a KV-2 turret, would you? I mean, it would make it a little bit less derpy, but sure, why not? I'm pretty sure I've seen some models where people have made that kind of a modification before. It seems like a fun thing to do, so why not? Smoes said, do you have anything in particular that holds a high sentimental value to you? If so, and it's not too personal, what is it? I've got some things like pictures and letters and stuff that mean a lot to me, but nothing else that I can think of off the top of my head. I also have an old coin that I found when digging in the mud as a kid. I believe it's a florin, and I forget what year it's from, but it is quite old. I'm not sure that really counts as sentimental, but I think it's pretty cool. It's probably the one thing that I've had for the longest time. I think I was like 5 when I found it. Fog of War said, the I Am a Wargamer YouTube channel we both posted responses to is running again as I Am a Wargamer 2020. Would you be interested in posting another version of this? I just rewatched mine and most of it is still relevant. I would like to update the where do you see your channel in 5 years to talk about what worked and what didn't. Any interest in this? I haven't seen it, which is probably because paying attention is hard, but sure, it might be an interesting thing to revisit. I'll find some time to put some thoughts and words together. In the comment section of last fortnight's Ask a Herbert Erpaderp, Jan Tima said, do you make much money off YouTube? Not really. Definitely not enough to live off, but for the last couple of years I have been lucky enough to earn each month to exceed the minimum for payout, which is $100. And that's pretty helpful really. It's a large portion of my hobby budget. Patreon is also very helpful there, and that's a deliberate choice people make, so I appreciate that a bit more. Thank you Patreons. You can't see me, but I'm giving you a hearty thumbs up. Well, I guess you can see me when it comes time to do the outtakes, I guess. I'll probably include that. Anyway, sometimes the YouTube payout isn't much over $100, but sometimes it's a fair bit more. It fluctuates quite a bit based on views and the time of year. The start of the year generally being the worst time. I'm lucky at this point that I have so many videos that are relatively evergreen, so they do continue getting views even years after they're uploaded. Not much, but it all adds up. I guess the moral of the story is don't start a YouTube channel hoping to get rich. EP Art said, "There is a guy by the name of Mamoru Nagano, if I'm saying that right, probably not, who refuses to have his movie released in any form of home media because a movie is a movie. To my knowledge, Gothic Maid is only available in Toho Cinemas, a theatre chain in Japan. Do you agree with Nagano? Should movies be barred from the home setting, reserved only for movie theatres? Is Nagano's idea of what counts as a movie outdated? Does Nagano have an exclusivity deal with Toho Cinemas that he is under an NDA about? Any other thoughts on this subject matter?" I disagree with this guy, and without really knowing much about him or his movies, it seems kind of pretentious. I mean, going to the cinema to see a movie is certainly an experience that can be a lot of fun, but I think it's kind of dumb to insist that movies only be watched there. It can also be really nice to just watch a movie at home, and telling people that they can only enjoy the art one way as intended by the author is lame and just doesn't sit right with me. If you've been here for a while, you probably won't be surprised to hear me say that I'm not really into being told how to enjoy a thing. I mean, I guess he can do what he wants with his movies. I probably won't go and see it, especially if it can only be watched in a theatre chain in Japan, obviously. But maybe he does have some sort of deal with an NDA and for some reason doesn't want to say that. I wouldn't know. But to me, it seems pretty silly. Trekan Beluvic said, "Jeepsman is a funny word. It's a very serious technical term. I wouldn't just make things up. I couldn't. You can't just go on the internet and say things. That would be crazy." Adam Mann said, "One of my closest friends is a German YouTube modeler that goes by Hamilcar Barkas. As far as we can tell, he has been doing scale models on YouTube longer than anyone that is still active. Are you familiar with him or any of the older channels doing models on YouTube?" I can't say that I am familiar with Hamilcar Barkas, and I'm probably saying that very wrong. There's a lot of modelling channels on YouTube that I'm unaware of, and while it is nice to hear of new ones to check out, to be honest, I don't really watch a lot of modelling videos. I already spend so much time making my own videos and streams and doing things related to modelling, and there's only so much I can take before burning out. I've been told before that I'm a fake modeler because I don't spend all of my time single-mindedly obsessing over modelling, but sometimes you need a break from things to keep enjoying them. I guess that's a bit of a tangent. I assume Hamilcar speaks German, which might be a bit of a barrier, but I will check him out when I'm done here. That's all of the questions this fortnight, but speaking of models, let's go and look at some. Specifically some of the models that have been shared in the Discord community over the last couple of weeks. Trekan Beluvic shared this little Soviet BA-10 armoured car. This is the Zvezda model in 15mm scale, which I recently built. Well, I didn't build this particular one, Trekan did, but you know what I mean. This looks awesome. Trekan didn't paint it for any particular force, but just to paint it for the fun of it, which sounds like fun, to state the obvious. And if Trekan does decide to do a Soviet force, he'll have a head start. Here's another one from Trekan, a comet. Comets are cool. This one is the plastic model from Battlefront, again in 15mm scale. This is another model Trekan has done for his friend's British Tanks Force. It has no markings because the story for this tank is that it's been sent to the front line for troop trials. I think it looks fantastic. Alexander the Meh has been working on some Shermans. These are artillery kits, I believe in 1/72nd scale, that come two to a box, and they're being painted in a variety of schemes, which I think is an interesting project. This second Sherman is a French one, but I don't see any baguettes. I suppose I'll just trust the markings that it's French. Ha ha ha! Hilarious stereotype jokes. There are two more of these to come, and they'll probably end up here, but do also keep an eye on the modelling channel in Discord. There's a lot of cool stuff to see that isn't shown here. The Tourette's Gamer shared this awesome little Alvis scimitar. Well, it isn't that little, it's a 35th scale model kit from AFV Club, but scimitars are still pretty small. I think this looks really awesome. It can be tricky to make a vehicle painted in a single solid colour look interesting, and I think you've managed to do that pretty well here. It looks quite convincingly like it's been actively used. Very nice work. Poster Gestapo shared this awesome looking Stug 3 on what he calls a simple diorama. It might be a bit simple, but that doesn't mean it doesn't also look awesome. This is a 1/72nd scale model by Revell, which I think goes to show that even a model by Revell, who a lot of people shit on, sometimes fairly, sometimes not, can be made to look really good if you work at it. and I rather like this, especially the stowage. That adds a whole lot of interest. Huel Clover, if I'm saying that right, shared this awesome BF-109. I'm pretty sure this is a BF-109 anyway. The model is by Edward, and I'm not totally sure what scale it is, but either way, I think it's great. I really like the contrast between the very bright and clean nose and the rest of the plane. Good work. Ratto has painted some Lannisters for the A Fire of Song and Ice miniatures game, which is, shockingly, based on the book by the same name. Okay, maybe that was a little bit sarcastic. What I'm not sarcastic about though is how good Ratto is at putting paint on things. These look great. Ratto mentioned that it took a fair bit of time to work on these, but I think it was certainly worth it. And that's it for the modelling this fortnight. This seems like it's a shorter Ask a Herbert Erpaderp than usual, which is fine by me. It means a little bit less wear on the old throat-a-rooney. Anyway, thanks to everybody who shared their models on Discord, even if they weren't shared here. That channel is always an inspiration. Also, thank you to everybody who asked a question. And of course, thanks to those who watch my videos. I appreciate it all. Ask a Herbert Erpaderp will be back in 2 weeks, so get your questions in. If you've not done so already, why not subscribe, follow, ring the bell, become a patron or YouTube member, or maybe just come say hi on Discord or Twitch. Links to all of my things are in the description below, and as always, I shall return soon. So until then, be excellent to each other, and thanks for watching. Farewell.